the unsolved mystery of the Sodder children. For about 7 decades, anyone driving down Route 16 near Fayetteville, West Virginia, could see a billboard bearing the grainy images of 5 children, all dark-haired and solemn-eyed, along with speculation about what happened to them. Fayetteville was, and is, a small town, with a main street that doesn't run longer than 100 yards, and rumors always played a larger role in the case than evidence. No one even agreed on whether the children were dead or alive. What everyone knew for certain was this: on the night before Christmas 1945, George and Jennie Sodder and 9 of their 10 children went to sleep. One son was away in the army. Around 1 a.m., a fire broke out. George and Jennie and 4 of their children escaped, but the other 5 were never seen again. George and Jennie were hard-working parents, devoted to their 10 children. Their home, a modest 2-story house nestled on a hillside, was filled with warmth and laughter as the family gathered around the fireplace, exchanging gifts and sharing stories. But as the clock struck midnight and the children were tucked into bed, an ominous presence lurked outside their home. Then, on that cold December night, tragedy struck. A fire erupted in the Sodder home, engulfing it in flames and trapping the children inside. George and Jennie, awoken by the sound of crackling flames, sprang into action. But as they rushed to save their children, they were met with a series of inexplicable obstacles. George had tried to save them, breaking a window to re-enter the house, slicing a swath of skin from his arm. He could see nothing through the smoke and fire, which had swept through all of the downstairs rooms where the rest of his children are supposed to be. He raced back outside, hoping to reach them through the upstairs windows. But the ladder he always kept propped against the house was strangely missing. An idea struck. He would drive one of his 2 coal trucks up to the house and climb atop it to reach the windows. But even though they'd functioned perfectly the day before, neither would start now. He ransacked his mind for another option. He tried to scoop water from a rain barrel, but found it frozen solid. 5 of his children were stuck somewhere inside those great whipping ropes of smoke. He didn't notice that his arm was slick with blood, that his voice hurt from screaming their names. His daughter Marion sprinted to a neighbor's home to call the Fayetteville Fire Department, but couldn't get any response. A neighbor who saw the blaze made a call from a nearby tavern, but again no operator responded. Exasperated, the neighbor drove into town and tracked down Fire Chief, who initiated Fayetteville's version of a fire alarm. The fire department was only 2.5 miles away, but the crew didn't arrive until 8 a.m., by which point the Sodders' home had been reduced to a smoking pile of ash. George and Jennie assumed that 5 of their children were dead, but a brief search of the grounds on Christmas Day turned up no trace of remains. Chief Maurice suggested that the blaze had been hot enough to completely cremate the bodies. A state police inspector combed the rubble and attributed the fire to faulty wiring. George covered the basement with 5 feet of dirt, intending to preserve the site as a memorial. The coroner's office issued 5 death certificates just before the new year, attributing the causes to fire or suffocation. But the Sodders had begun to wonder if their children were still alive. In the days leading up to the fateful night, strange occurrences began to unfold around the Sodder home. There was a stranger who appeared at the home a few months earlier, back in the fall, asking about hauling work. He meandered to the back of the house, pointed to 2 separate fuse boxes, and said, "This is going to cause a fire someday." Strange, George thought, especially since he had just had the wiring checked by the local power company, which pronounced it in fine condition. Around the same time, another man tried to sell the family life insurance and became irate when George declined. "Your goddamn house is going up in smoke," he warned, "and your children are going to be destroyed. You are going to be paid for the dirty remarks you have been making about Mussolini." George was indeed outspoken about his dislike for the Italian dictator, occasionally engaging in heated arguments with other members of Fayetteville's Italian community, and at the time didn't take the man's threats seriously. Around 12:30 Christmas morning, after the children had opened a few presents and everyone had gone to sleep, the shrill ring of the telephone broke the quiet. Jennie rushed to answer it. An unfamiliar female voice asked for an unfamiliar name. There was raucous laughter and glasses clinking in the background. Jennie said, "You have the wrong number," and hung up. Tiptoeing back to bed, she noticed that all of the downstairs lights were still on and the curtains open. The front door was unlocked. She saw Marion asleep on the sofa in the living room and assumed that the other kids were upstairs in bed. She turned out the lights, closed the curtains, locked the door, and returned to her room. She had just begun to doze when she heard one sharp, loud bang on the roof, and then a rolling noise. An hour later, she was roused once again, this time by heavy smoke curling into her room. Jennie couldn't understand how 5 children could perish in a fire and leave no bones, no flesh, nothing. She conducted a private experiment, burning animal bones to see if the fire consumed them. Each time she was left with a heap of charred bones. She knew that remnants of various household appliances had been found in the burned-out basement, still identifiable. An employee at a crematorium informed her that bones remain after bodies are burned for 2 hours at 2,000 degrees. Their house was destroyed in 45 minutes. The collection of odd moments grew. A telephone repairman told the Sodders that their lines appeared to have been cut, not burned. A witness came forward claiming he saw a man at the fire scene taking a block and tackle used for removing car engine. Then came the reports of sightings. A woman claimed to have seen the missing children peering from a passing car while the fire was in progress. Another woman said she saw the children the morning after the fire and served them breakfast. In the days and weeks that followed, the Sodders launched a relentless search for answers. They combed through the charred remains of their home, searching for any sign of their missing children. They hired private investigators, enlisted the help of law enforcement, and even reached out to psychics and mediums in their quest for the truth. But as the months turned into years, the trail grew cold, and the mystery of the Sodder children's disappearance only deepened. Sightings were reported, leads were followed, but time and again, their efforts were met with frustration and disappointment. Witnesses disappeared, evidence was lost, and the truth seemed to slip further and further from their grasp. Decades passed, and still, the Sodders refused to give up hope. They erected billboards, plastered their children's faces on milk cartons, and tirelessly pursued every lead that came their way. But despite their best efforts, the fate of the missing children remained a mystery, and the Sodder family was left to grapple with the agonizing uncertainty of their fate. And so, the mystery of the Sodder children's disappearance endures, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of hope. To this day, the question remains unanswered. What really happened on that cold December night? Until the truth is finally revealed, the Sodder family's quest for justice will continue, a testament to the strength of a parent's love and the unwavering belief that their children are out there somewhere waiting to come home. Join us next time as we delve deeper into the secrets that lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. Until then, remember, the truth is out there.